Thanks again for joining me. So, first off, just give me a little bit of background where you are now. Congratulations on getting drafted as part of the Phillies organization. Just tell me a little bit about what's been going on for you these last few weeks.
So got here, went up to Philly, like I told you about over through text. I was up there, did all the medical stuff, then came down, I think back on Saturday night. So I had like that half night or whatever, then came back up on Sunday up to Clearwater, signed my contract. And then through these last couple of weeks, it's just been working out, throwing, got my first pen, couple pens in this week, and then I'll pen a couple more times, and then I'll do live ABs. And then wherever they may ship me off, whether it's finishing off in the complex league or over to low A, which is right here in Clearwater. So it works out.
And man, what have the emotions been like? Obviously, has it set in yet for you that you've made your big league dream come true? At least you're starting it. Has all the emotions set in, or is it still surreal right now?
I think it's set in for right now for the most part. It's like I did everything, went over the Philly, got all that stuff all done. So it's kind of, I think that was the more surreal moment. It was like being able to go up to Philly and see all like their traditions up there, be able to go to the ball game that Friday night after the All Star break. So I thought that was pretty cool. But being here, it's coming back down to reality.
And what were your first impressions of the Phillies organization, the town, just kind of, you said the history, a lot of history goes into sports in general there, especially with the Phillies, but what was kind of your first impression of the town and the organization?
I thought it was pretty cool. It was like pretty dope area. They got to take us like through downtown, like through all of our different appointments. So you're able to see like the different types of the city and just be able to be around like the good people up there. Fans are kind of nuts. I've heard, at least that's what everyone keeps saying. So they'll love you and they'll hate you at the same time. So I think just getting used to that will be a big game changer, but it'll be fun.
And in terms of, obviously, this is something you've dreamt about, I'm sure, since you were a kid or the first time you picked up a baseball, but what is it like knowing that at least you've started the journey to making it to the big leagues? What's it like knowing that you played, obviously, you play high school ball and you play college ball, but now knowing that you're doing it for uh, a paycheck, you're doing it professionally. What is that like? What does that mean to you?
It just means a lot where it's like all this hard work I got here for over these last 16 years. Reality, these last 7 years between going through high school and college, but just building up to where I am now, it's always been a dream. So now it's the next, whatever long, how many years, let's say 3 to 4 years till I get to the big leagues. And hopefully it's 15 more years after that.
And during the pre-draft process, was the Phillies one of the teams that maybe had interest initially? How does that process work? Obviously, from the outside looking in, I may have a certain point of view of it, but you went through it. But
Hmm.
so tell me a little bit about that process, what it's like before the draft, and then leading up to getting picked.
So after season's over and like whoever's like not playing like regionals and supers, obviously for the College World Series, you'll get invited to like kind of like their own little combine, like pre-draft workout. So it's like some pitchers will throw like a bullpen or like throw live ABs to like the other hitters that come to the workout, and you just kind of go off of that. And then I went out to combine, talked to some teams. The Phillies were actually one of the few teams I had talked to. So you kind of get a vibe of what teams like more interested and more not. So I think draft day, they said it was about like 18 to 19 teams that were interested, but each team has you different on their leaderboard because everyone's got different opinions. So, but everyone always says only one team's got to love you. So that works out. So for the most part, it just depends on what team you like or what team likes you, be able to talk and communicate with them.
And when you're working out for these teams pre-draft, how do you combine? Obviously, there's probably nerves there. Maybe there's not for you. I don't know. But in terms of
Mm.
balancing out the nerves of, trying to get a team to be interested, but also perfecting your craft, trying to repetition, try to do the things the same way every time. That's got to be a different feeling, I'm sure.
A little bit, yeah, but for the most part, it's like they've already seen you for the past 2 years more often than not. You can also say like 4 or 5 years between your junior and high school and seeing where you develop from there all the way to your junior in college. So it's they've always seen you. So it's like there's nothing you can change like that workout day that's gonna like, oh, I'm gonna jump you up 50 spots on the board. It's you just gotta show who you are and more often than not and just be able to talk with them and see like what kind of person you are.
And in college, you were a reliever, or did you start?
I did both. It was
Okay.
kind of a mess this year,
So
if
what
you want to say.
so what's kind of the track for you now at the professional level? Are they thinking more bullpen work or starting or maybe combination of both continuing?
Probably a combination of both to start off because they'll probably do evaluation process through this fall, probably even next year two as well, or at least spring wise early on. So it'll just depend on what they think or what way is going to get me faster up to the big leagues.
And if you were describing yourself to a fan or someone in the Phillies organization that may not know a lot about you as a player now, what would you say are some of your best tools in terms of your arsenal, things like that? What do you bring to the table as a player?
Obviously a good ball player, hopefully a good teammate, and like show the fans I like. That's all I care about. And I just come out, be able to throw all my pitches, fastball, curveball, slider, changeup, just be able to ready to go.
And you went to Venice, correct? Is that right?
Yeah.
What have you seen from the rich tradition of sports in the on the Sun Coast in that area, but especially at Venice? Obviously, it's a football powerhouse, but baseball is right
Mhm.
there with it as well. What is it like for you growing up in an area where sports are played at such a high level, and obviously through that high level of play, you've been able to achieve your dream?
Oh, it's pretty much a gift that anyone can ask, or you can ask any other person. Like Venice and Sarasota area is a great way to start off sports, especially if you want to be competitive, going up to the next level. I mean, there's always those places like in Texas, California, Georgia, where it's always like some schools always big at what sport may be, but it's always a blessing to be able to grow up in a great place and be able to play for a good team.
And aside from your talent, obviously, to play at the big league level and be drafted by a professional team, what do you think is the other biggest thing that goes into being a good baseball player, other than having the talent? Is it the hard work? Is it just being able to execute certain things? What do you think is the biggest takeaway from your journey so far?
Obviously, being a good ball player, like you said, and always like putting the hard work, even though those times get like pretty bad, where it's not like stuff's going your way, but just like between bouncing around from workouts to on-field workouts, off-field workouts. Make sure you're sleeping all the time. Make sure you're eating right all the time. So it's kind of someone who's always on their toes. It seems like and be able to travel. But obviously, I think the biggest takeaway is just be you and be the good character that you are as a person, because that goes along those ways. Because you can see, yeah, any of like older coaches where it's like they rather have a player who's like less of a caliber on the field, but who's a good person versus a great player, but who's less of a character off the field and on the field.
And in terms of being with the Phillies, obviously half of baseball does their spring training in Florida, the other half is out in Arizona, and then obviously with the complex leagues and the low A teams and stuff in the
Mm-hmm.
area. What does that mean to you to be drafted by a team that's still relatively close to home in terms of their spring training teams and teams that you may possibly get to play for, being close to family?
It was pretty dope just be able to like see like I was that's what was my hope for, was be able to play on the East Coast team or whatever grapefruit league team that's here in Florida. So I was hoping like, but I know whatever team picks me up, I'm ready to go. So
And what has your family been like for you during this process? Obviously, they're probably just as happy and excited as you are, right along with you. What has it been like and experiencing this with them and taking this next step with them in your corner?
it's just a blessing because it's always they've always been there for me and just be able behind me. It was like even when tough times get tough, whether if I'm not going to my coaches, they're always picking me up and always trying to support me no matter what.
And lastly, to wrap things up here, more or less, you're just now starting your journey. Obviously, we're going to hopefully see you in the big leagues, as you said, in a couple of years. Starting now and continuing the success that you've had throughout your major league career. When people look back on your career and they think of Orion Kerkering, what do you want the lasting legacy for you to be in the game of baseball?
Just being a good ball player, always never quits, even out there when it goes tough. And like I said, always just be that good character on and off the field. As people say, I don't know if I can say this, but being an asshole on the field, but also being a good person besides that. So be able to find the on and off switch between good person and just being a person who wants to compete.
Congratulations on being drafted and beginning your journey, and we'll keep looking forward to success, and we'll keep track of you on SNN for sure.
Absolutely. Thanks again.